This week, the weather potato, aka Goldilocks the Doom Goblin, made a speech in front of a committee on climate change that consisted mostly of the words blah, 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 blah. Most commentators and analysts say that it is the most substantive thing that this little bitch has said since achieving fame as an influencer. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else is on the planet, not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, certainly not employers. They have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions and will no doubt wind me up in a COVID camp, even though they're not COVID related. So consider yourself warned. They're coming from the heart. They're guided by the mind. They're guaranteed to choke you with the truth cock. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is time for the Sunday sermon. Sorry about the technical difficulties coming out of the starting gate here, man. Just got through doing shoulders and traps. I'm in a fairly good mood. I'm a little exhausted, a little bit sore. Let's see who's on board already, man. What do we got? We got Emmy. We got Joey. We got, of course, Roman. Dobry den, Oksana. Sergey loves you too because Russia. Oh, you beautiful thing. There we go. Brother Wayne on board. Aaron, of course. Carrie on board. Emmy. All right, man. We got all the usual suspects and people are going to roll in as the thing progresses. A lot of stuff to get into. Got the big jug of liquid enthusiasm, and we are rolling. That is such a fucking jam, isn't it? I'm so glad I stumbled on that, man. For those of you who have been living in a cave on a remote planet since we started doing this damn thing, the bumper music is, of course, from the band Red Desert out of the smoldering ruins of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The name of the song is Older, No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older, and every week you guys get to decide if I've gotten any wiser. Some weeks more so than others. I don't know. But you guys keep coming around, and I was waiting for Roman to jump in on that one. Remember to like and share to bump things up in the algorithm. Algorithm, that's my college word. I have 3 of those. I try to use them sparingly. So yeah, man, like and share the video. Also, if somebody could take a couple of seconds, maybe pop over to Facebook and see if the ban has been lifted yet. It's giving me the indicator that it's not feeding through, so I'm thinking the ban's still on, but who knows. I don't need them. I'm building them a facility right now. You'd think they could afford me a little professional courtesy, but fucking no. It doesn't work that way. Anyway, fuck it. Brother James Pearson showing up, man. Glad you made it. And he said, no, we are not active on Facebook. All right. Take whatever we can get here. Also, the T-shirt of the week. That is an AK-74SU, colloquially, that's another one of my 3 college words, colloquially referred to as the Krinkov. And the caption, of course, is actions speak louder than words. This shirt was gifted to me, like so many others, by a certain gentleman, Don Rock. You can find him on Instagram. I meant to do a post, and I'll get that up there by next week. Don Rock 666 on Instagram. You can find him there. I think that's. I think this is only social media exposure right now. I know he was on Facebook for a minute. Don is, man, he's got a long and storied history of being an artist from the counterculture, particularly around the Texas Hill Country. He actually bought Gibby's old place from Gibby from the Butthole Surfers. He actually bought his old place, so he's got his little bunker hideaway out there in the Texas Hill Country. I was able to hang out with him some when I was recovering from my spinal stuff this year. And it was good to see him again. I've known Don, from around the gun shows and around the fight scene and everything for, over 20 years. The guy's a really phenomenal silkscreen artist. He does some really cutting edge designs. He had a thing going on under Terror Worldwide for a minute, and you can find some of his stuff, I believe, on eBay if you go on and look up Terror Worldwide. But make sure you are buying the legit article, because there are a lot of fucking rip-off artists out there that are stealing his shit and using it to turn a profit for their own selves. But yeah, man, some really interesting designs, almost all of which, in fact, any of the sermons that you see me broadcast from the Bart Bunker, those two posters back behind me that I have there, the 1911 and the Krinkov, are both Don's work. And I've got a masterpiece silkscreen that he did for me years and years ago that's like the centerpiece of the living room. I'll post a photo of that maybe on the personal page or the fan page a little bit later. But anyway, yeah, so that's the t-shirt of the week here. I don't think you guys have seen this one yet. You've seen, like, most of the ones that I keep in rotation, the fuck Antifa and all the other stuff, but we decided to mix it up a little bit this week. Anyway, so a couple of sponsor shout outs real quick. First of all, to Roman and Roxy and Allie and all the bevy of beautiful women and testosterone-driven commentary that you will find at opiumtales.com. They are the erotic pinups and portraits people. Definitely go over there and check it out, man. Roman, besides being a flagship sponsor, is a dear friend of mine and has been for many, many years. So definitely go check out his work. Also, a shout out to my Viking brothers, Casey and Dusty Tellison, Nordic Smoke Barbecue, the only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest. That's right, the only one. Yeah, but what about, no, stop. Don't fucking, let me just simplify for you. They are the only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest. I am North Carolina by way of Texas. I am not easily impressed by fucking barbecue. Look into my eye, motherfucker. They are the only legit item. And they're out there with the smoker truck on Sprague at American Gun and Pawn every Thursday. So go check them out. So yeah, let's jump into this thing. Oh, real quick, another shout out to Casey, man. Casey just getting accolades after accolades after accolades. If you have not picked up a copy of the book, Freaks of a Feather, published by the Late Top Press out of Spokane, and available on Amazon, Freaks of a Feather. It is his memoir as a combat saw gunner in Iraq. It is a phenomenal book. Casey is a phenomenal writer. You definitely want to check that out if you haven't already. And somebody post links. You guys, you know how to do this. We had Casey on the program. I think it's been about a month now since we had him on the program, and it went really, really well. And he's getting accolades from all over the place, and I'm really proud of the guy. So while we're here, I don't see Ryan. I don't see Ryan in the queue, but it doesn't matter, because we are still going to bring back the return of Ryan's Rabbit Hole. That is correct. We haven't done Ryan's Rabbit Hole in a couple of weeks now, and I wanted to go ahead and bring that back. Ryan, as you guys know, if you followed this for any length of time, you know that Ryan was the guy that opened the door for me to get into crane stuff, and it has completely changed my life. And in fact, that's what I'm doing now out here in Central Oregon. I am working on a project for a platform that keeps fucking banning me, which is, you know, the height of irony on some levels. But anyway, I'm having a lot of fun with that. Anyway, Ryan has an eye for the esoteric and obscure in a way that really gives me pause a lot of times. And most of the time, I have at least heard of the person who he has identified for the rabbit hole. It's just a little thing to take you out of your intellectual comfort zone and explore some things. But Ryan's Rabbit Hole this week focuses on someone who I had literally never heard of up until now. And right now, Ryan's like, ha ha, motherfucker, I got you. Yeah, yes, you did. Jacob Fugger, Jakob Fugger. You guys can go ahead and dip down this rabbit hole. And I'm going to let you do most of the exploration for yourself. But from what I have been able to gather in my limited research on the guy, this guy was basically Rothschild before there was Rothschild. He was invested in some mining interests and some currencies, and basically just wove himself into the European merchant trade to the point where he was financing both sides in a number of wars. And basically changing the course of history. One guy changing the course of history, and a dude that you've never fucking heard of. Everybody remembers certain names. Everybody remembers Joseph Stalin. Everybody remembers the German with the funny mustache, who we can't mention without getting banned from YouTube. But Jacob Fugger, holy fuck, man. This one had totally flown under my goddamn radar. And I got to dip down this rabbit hole a little bit, and it's some pretty fascinating stuff. So you guys look it up for yourselves. Find out the history. There will be a quiz. Ryan will be administering the quiz, not me. So you, and he's a bit less forgiving than I am. So you might want to check that out. But anyway, Jacob Fugger, the subject of Ryan's rabbit hole for the week, and I'm glad that we could bring back that segment. We missed it for a couple of weeks. Again, I'm still kind of getting adjusted here in Central Oregon, and you guys are getting to see that that process take place. Tom, good to see you. Mike, glad you made it. Oh, hey, dude, don't worry about showing up late. Hell, man, the other half of my brain hasn't shown up yet. I'm still waiting for that to kick in with the liquid enthusiasm. So don't worry about it. And we're not on a hard schedule here. Anyway, so yeah, I'm still getting adjusted up here. On a personal level, I am still at, clearly I'm still at the same residence. I'm still at the same motel in that little hideaway in that little Central Oregon town. I am having a blast here. You guys that follow my personal page, I try to keep the personal and the political separate for reasons that should be pretty fucking obvious for any of you guys that have followed me for any length of time. I just don't want to engage anymore. I have too many good things, even though I've gotten hit with some major unexpected blows this year with the loss of my best friend and some other things. There's a lot of good coming out of my life, and I find myself in this place, and I find myself healing. It's good for my state of mind. Had I still been in Houston or even in Spokane, with all of the attendant distractions that went with that, I think I would probably still be fucking spun up. But the fact that the gods have chosen to place me here, particularly during the holy season, for those of you that know my spiritual path, there's a reason I'm here. And part of that is to heal, and I'm just trying to sort out what the rest of that is. And I'm sure that purpose is going to be revealed to me in due time. If you guys follow my personal page, you know Oregon was the first place in the Northwest that really made me go, here, this is where I want to be. The downfall of Portland sort of derailed that, but I had forgotten how much more there is to Oregon besides Portland. And Portland was once upon a time a beautiful fucking city, don't get me wrong. Like so many things that we're going to get into here in a minute, it took a downhill turn. The subject of failed policies and the ignorant people that enforce them. And I let that sour me to the entire prospect of anywhere in the state of Oregon. And that was a mistake. And my anniversary weekend, a couple of weeks back, I was able to see a lot of the things that have made me fall in love with this place. It's bringing me peace. It's allowing me to center, and it's allowing me to delineate, as I have on social media, my personal from my political and social. Because right now, no matter what's going on in the world, and you guys have heard me say this before, it's one of my iron rules, man. The world can be as fucked up as it needs to be, but your world only has to be as fucked up as you let it. And right now, I'm not in a position where I'm ready to let my world be that fucked up, no matter what's going on in the world around me. And there's plenty of that. And, I'm not a Pollyanna about it. These things are observed and they need to be addressed, and we're going to get into all of that. But right now, on a personal level, I'm where I need to be. So you guys can take some solace in that, especially you guys who are friends with me on a personal level outside of social media. But just making that announcement to everybody, the friends, the fans, the Reverends, Rangers, the Prophets of Doom, the Sinner Sisters, all the folks on board. I'm in a good spot. I'm where I need to be. So if I mysteriously don't hang myself, know that I didn't hang myself. I can't wait for that one. Somebody's going to make a meme. Somebody's going to make a fucking meme. So anyway, how about we jump on into this? One of the things, and again, bringing up Portland and bringing up Seattle, we are in an interesting position in the history of this country. Many other times throughout the history of this nation, we have had to speculate. If we go down this road, what lies ahead? What would be the possibilities and the pitfalls of pursuing this political ambition or this political agenda or this thing or that thing? And many times throughout the history of this country, we've had to wait to see how that plays out. We are on a national and a global level right now at a peculiar and unique juncture, shall we say, where we are able to see the end results of the corridors that we may be headed down, and we're getting to see them play out in real time. Portland was an example of that. Seattle, anywhere in Washington or Oregon, west of the Cascades. Again, being a denizen of the Northwest, for those of you who are not denizens of the Northwest, I feel like I need to explain this a bit, at least provide some sort of clarity and specificity. There's another one of my 3 college words. There are essentially 2 states. With regard to Washington and Oregon, they are both essentially 2 states. And you've heard me touch on this before. There's east of the Cascades, there's west of the Cascades. East of the Cascades, almost without exception, Washington and Oregon are both red states, to the point where there are actually a number of counties here in Oregon that are making a serious, legitimate, and directed effort at breaking away from the state of Oregon and becoming part of Greater Idaho. East of the Cascades, it's solid red. You have self-reliant people. You have farmers. You have laborers. I am in a little town in central Oregon, and it's a wonderful fucking town. You guys might have seen the post earlier in the week on my personal page where I was driving home from the gym, and you had a kid in a Spider-Man costume rolling around in the front yard with his dad, and I'm passing a memorial to wildland firefighters and just families gathered in the park, and it's tranquil and it's clean, and it's something right out of some 50s nostalgia. One of the reasons why they drive us so hard, and this is just a brief side tangent here, but one of the reasons why they drive us so hard to hate America in the 1950s is because they don't want us to remember that there actually was a time that America was functional, healthy, and prosperous. So, of course, they shit on the Happy Days crowd and the Andy Griffith crowd and all of the, all of the things that America's find nostalgic about the 1950s. Yes, there was plenty of stuff going on even then. We know about, Eisenhower and how the intelligence service, pushed for the removal of Mossadegh in Iran, setting off like decades of fucking historical shit. Of course, it wasn't like 100% clean. We know about the stuff that went into the Cold War and all the other things. It wasn't 100% golden for everyone involved. But God damn it, if you were given the choice, independent of the technological advances, if you were to take every technological advance that had taken place since the 1950s, including color television, the internet, fucking cell phones and all those other things, and had a choice between living in America now or America in the 1950s, would that even be a real decision? east of the Cascades. Again, let me reel it back in. East of the Cascades, that is red state. That is wholesome, family, functional, working class. That is America, as far as I am concerned. Your mileage may vary, but I love being in this little town, and it's a reminder. West of the Cascades, you have the end product of every leftist policy that is coming down the pike in DC. Now, these leftist policies that are coming down the pike in DC, of course, they're attempting to push this on a national scale. It's a federal push to get these things through on a national scale. And they tell us, don't worry, we're going to see how it plays out. It's going to solve all the problems. It's going to solve the immigration crisis. It's going to solve the economic crisis. It's going to solve inflation. It's going to do all of those things. We just got to give it a chance. And we're not going to know until we try. We got to pass the bill so we can see what's in it, says the Avon Lady of the Damned. Feel free to use that, by the way. Fucking Pelosi. Jesus. Anyway, they're trying to push it on a national scale, and they're telling us, trust us. This is going to solve all these problems. But we're getting to see right now in real time the end result of how these policies play out over time on a state and a local level. Take a look at Seattle. Take a look at Portland. Take a look at anywhere in California, anywhere. I'm sure there are some notable exceptions. Right now, somebody is watching this going, well, there's this little town. Yeah, okay, I hear you, dickweed. But as a general rule across the board, in Maxine Waters' district, in Schiff's district, in Pelosi's district, take a look at those fucking places. We are getting to see how this plays out. Social equity has devolved into the point where there are protected classes that are literally walking into stores and walking out with $1,000 worth of merchandise, and no one lifts a finger. And then when the stores say, we're tired of losing money, we're going to move out of the neighborhood, they are called racist. Look at the discrimination. Why the fuck would I want to be there? You're allowing people to come in and steal the shit. I'm trying to make this neighborhood a better place and turn a profit. Well, there's your problem. You're trying to turn a profit. Profits are bad. There's no reasoning with these people. There doesn't need to be a reason. We have eyes, and we have more than two brain cells to rub together. We can see the end results of these policies. I can speak for Portland and Seattle over the course of the last fucking 10 years, watching those places degenerate and disintegrate. Portland was a beautiful city. Seattle, my God, what a beautiful city. Even 10 years ago. And now, literally overwhelmed with homeless camps and junkies and human feces on the sidewalk. Public sanitation crews in Seattle and Portland, and I'm not exaggerating, feel free to look this up and fact check me. Street sweeper crews have to wear spike-proof soles on their shoes, and they have push brooms where they are pushing up literal piles of used syringes. This, by the way, in a state that just banned single-use plastic bags for law-abiding citizens, but they're giving syringes away by the bagful. Feel free to do the homework on this one, but I'm willing to bet there's more plastic used for your average syringe than there is for your average thin plastic bag. Also, nobody ever caught Hep C from stepping barefoot on a plastic bag that someone had left on the sidewalk. So yeah, a little different. Fuck your virtue signaling. These are the policies because you've heard, and it's a cliche as old as the sun, what you allow is what will continue. What you allow is what will continue. But I'll go you one better. What you encourage, and I'm getting ready to drop another one of my 3 college words on you. What you encourage is what will exponentiate. I'll wait for some of the slow kids to Google that. I'm kidding. Anybody watching this, you knew exactly the minute I said it. What you allow is what will continue. What you encourage is what will exponentiate. And what you are encouraging by these policies is degenerate and criminal behavior. We see how it ends up on a state and local level. On a local level, you look at Portland, you look at Seattle. Property crime rampant in the streets. Cops literally will not pursue a lot of felons who are caught in the act of committing felonies for the possible backlash that might ensue if anyone gets hurt in the process. So the criminal class is allowed to run rampant. Allowed. What you allow is what will what? Continue. And what you encourage. You guys know my story. You guys know my history. This tattoo is there to cover track scars. I walked away from it. Grace of God. April 12, 1997. So I know from whence I speak. Back in those days, needle exchange meant needle exchange. I bring you 1 dirty point, you give me 1 clean one. I bring you 2 dirty points, you give me 2 clean ones. There was an impetus on us, particularly on street level, to hang on to your rigs, to put that nose cap back on, to make sure, hey, man, pass some alcohol through that motherfucker, keep the pipes cleaned out. We're going to use that for everything that it's worth. A couple of you ex-junkies out there know the matchbook trick. You sharpen it up on a matchbook, starts getting a barb on that needle. Should I tell them about the earwax thing? Yeah. No, I'll save it for another day. The point is this. If you brought back 1 dirty point, you got 1 clean one in return. Exchange meant exchange. But now, city of Seattle, and I believe, I haven't confirmed Portland yet, but I know for a fact in Seattle that they're giving these syringes away in bags around homeless camps. Giving them away. Here you go. Harm reduction, they call it. It's not harm reduction. Because now there's no impetus on these derelicts, these predatory miscreant fucks, whose ranks I once walked among. Judge away. There's no impetus for them to do anything to keep track. That was clever, Roman. There's nothing for them. There's nothing to encourage them to keep track of their points. They just hit up and drop them on the sidewalk. Don't even take the time to put the nose cap back on. Criminal behavior allowed. What you allow is what will continue. When you encourage junkies and tweakers by giving them clean points whenever they fucking need one, what you encourage is what will exponentiate. Human feces on the sidewalk. Terrible problem all over every big city in California, particularly in Waters and Pelosi's districts. What you allow is what will continue. You allow people to shit on the streets, especially these miscreant scumbags. You allow these people to shit on the streets. This is what's going to happen. You allow people to set up tent camps under your fucking bridges. This is what's going to happen. But then we take it one step further. What you encourage is what will exponentiate. What did the city of Seattle do? City of Seattle used to have a street sweeper crew, same guys that have to push up the piles of dirty needles. They were given the detail with fire hoses of hosing some of these areas. fire hosing the human shit off the sidewalks. And how did Seattle City Council react? They came out in opposition. They said this has to stop. Why? Because it's stigmatizing the homeless. And particularly that it was racist for homeless people of color because it conjured up memories of Bull Connor and fire hoses in the Old South, even though there's a grand total of 7 black people in the entire city of Seattle. I'm exaggerating, but not by much. It's fucking bizarre. We don't want to hose the human shit off the sidewalk. And so they're like, well, fuck it, you know, they handle it with what you encourage is what will exponentiate. This is the kind of behavior that you were seeing. So what do you suppose is going to happen? What you allow is what will continue. What do we witness on the border for the last couple of weeks? All these Haitian migrants, where did they come from? Let me clear that up, because a lot of people are saying, well, how the fuck did they get from Haiti all the way to, all the way into Mexico, across the Gulf of Mexico in the middle of fucking hurricane season? Well, there is, as it turns out, a rational explanation for that. Many of these people have been living in South America for years and years and years, living in South American countries, working, making a living. They were fine. But they heard that the Biden administration had thrown the borders open. And as much as they deny it, it's an absolute fact. They've thrown the fucking borders open. So they thought, hey, because ultimately everyone wants to be in America. You know, the shitty, horrible, racist, no health care, bad to the poor, terrible fucking place that we live in. Ultimately, for such a shitty place, it's amazing the entire goddamn world wants to be here. So what happens? They hear the borders are open, they head north. There's another caravan coming. And out of the, 10, 12,000 or so that made it across the border into that fucking camp, 9 to 10,000 were released into the United States? Oh, without a COVID vaccine. Why didn't you hit them up with it? They asked them flat out. What did the administration spokesman say? Well, we ask them if they want it, but they can decline. Really? You know, extend that courtesy to the Border Patrol, but we're going to get into that in a minute. We're a half hour in, and I've gotten way off point here, sort of rambling, meandering. Let me see if I can pull it back together. Coming back to it, what you allow is what will continue, and what you encourage is what will exponentiate. The same exact policies that have brought Portland and Seattle and all the cities in California to degeneracy and ruin are now being pushed in the halls of Congress by the leftists, the hard leftists, buried in the infrastructure bill. All of these things are buried in the so-called infrastructure bill, which is why they're in such a tizzy about it. Did you see the post from Bernie Sanders this week? We can't allow 2 senators to hold up what 48 members of the Senate want. Attention, Grandpa, with your model trains. It's not 2 senators. It's 52. The word you are looking for is majority, as in the majority of the Senate does not want this, including members of your own party. And if you take a look at the count in the House, there's about 15 to 25. Check my math on that. Go back and look. There's about 15 to 25 more representatives, congresspersons that don't want this than want it. And the only fallback plan that you have, even by your loose and radical definition of what constitutes democracy, is to say that even though you're in the minority, just give us our goddamn way. I understand that's how y'all think. Unfortunately for you, at least now, that's not how the legislative branch works. So go fuck yourself. But this is the push. All of these policies, and we are getting to see in real time how they play out. We don't have to wonder what the end result of the immigration policy is we're getting to see it play out in real time. Can't talk about the Great Replacement? Of course you can't talk about the Great Replacement. It's gaslighting on the worst fucking level. They brag about demographic replacement until they're called on it, and then it becomes a racist right-wing dog whistle talking point. Gaslighting. I can tolerate a lot of things. Gaslighting is not among them. In any case, beyond the demographics, the social justice and equity policies that are buried in this infrastructure bill, the spending allocations for hard leftist programs, an outright push to end the fossil fuel industry, all buried in this infrastructure bill. Do you want the bridges? Do you want the roads? Cool, pass the bill. Don't worry about this. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. This is how it works. But don't worry about it. Just like Pelosi said about healthcare, and like Biden essentially said this week. He said, yeah, these programs are overwhelmingly popular. The problem that we're having is not a whole lot of people know what the programs are. Let me run that by you again. It's overwhelmingly popular. It's just that nobody knows what it is. And yet still overwhelmingly popular. I refer you back to Pelosi and the healthcare thing. We got to pass the bill so we can see what's in it. My Botox is frozen. We don't need to speculate. We don't need to wonder. We can see it. We can see it playing out in real time. All over California, cities in the Northwest, fucking blue cities, Democrat-controlled cities all over the country. We are seeing the end results of these policies. Chicago, disaster. Anywhere in California, disaster. Seattle, Portland, disasters. New York City, holy fuck, do I even need to get into it? Atlanta? Not funny. It's all falling apart. We see. And we're getting to see how it plays out in real time. And this is what they're trying to shove down our throats. Under the guise of infrastructure, under the guise of social justice, equity, all of these things. That's the importance of seeing the end result. We know why they're doing what they're doing. It's just funny watching the press. I wish I had more time because I'd love to get into some of these bullet points on the way the press is running interference for this stuff. The fact checks and things like that. Governor Newsom, during the recall, he tried to pull the tough on crime thing. And in spite of the numbers, which don't lie, of the extreme spike across the board in crime throughout California. He was, don't get crime's actually on a downswing, and neglected to mention that the use of statistics, that the set of statistics that he chose to use and that the media chose to parrot as a talking point for Newsom before the recall election ended in 2019. Oopsie, I'm sure it was just an oversight. They'll run interference for it. They'll do the fact checks. Fucking hilarious, man. Absolutely fucking hilarious. I'll get into how they're steering your position on the fact check and the importance of another place where we can see the end result in real time. Yeah, guys, we're going to talk about that COVID thing again. We keep coming back to it because it just won't go away. Not the disease. The disease is definitely going away. Cases are fucking falling off, particularly in states that have fucking restored the freedoms of the citizens. I wish I had time to get into that. If you haven't seen it yet, you should go to YouTube and take a look at the piece that was supposed to be a hit piece on DeSantis. And it wound up looking bizarre. These people are actually afraid of freedom. Very, very much afraid of freedom. But again, let's get back to the core of it. watching the end result play out in real time. Here's what's going on in real time right now here in the United States. The United States Army, and this is from Reuters. Reuters, not Fox News, not One American News Network, not Newsmax. Reuters, U.S. Army says soldiers who refuse COVID-19 vaccine could be dismissed. Now, once that started fucking with the readiness levels of our troops, and a lot of high-ranking generals made comments to that effect, they started backpedaling on it a little bit. Oh, no, they're not going to be dismissed or court-martialed. Initially, that was the push. We'll court-martial them. We'll dishonorably discharge them. Biden administration officials stated position, which they have since relented and backpedaled on, that you would be summarily, unceremoniously, and dishonorably discharged for refusing the vaccine. Now they're backpedaling a little bit, but again, the overall push is that soldiers who refuse the COVID-19 vaccine could be dismissed. Particular effect of the readiness of special operations units, which, if you've spent any time around spec ops guys, you already know the personality type that you're dealing with, whether it's recon or Navy SEALs or Rangers. Rangers lead the way. Sorry, reflex. Whether it's Rangers, Special Forces, SEALs, Marine Recon, Delta, any of those guys, you're dealing with people who do have a bit of a problem with conformity, even within the bounds of the military. They think for themselves. They act for themselves. That's what makes them efficient soldiers. That's what makes them efficient operators. But they're not just going to roll over and take the fucking jab. So the people being dismissed, as far as like readiness levels, it's having a much greater effect in those operation-specific units than it is across the military as a whole. And people are taking notice. The media is not talking about it. Did you expect them to? Here's another thing coming down the pike this week. A whistleblower went to Jim Jordan, and the Biden administration has issued a memo to Border Patrol agents. Now, here we are coming off one of the worst, particularly in terms of optics. You know, it's bad enough that the numbers were there. But even in terms of optics, we're coming off one of the worst border shit shows that any of us have ever seen with regard to what just happened in Del Rio, Texas. And now, again, amidst a policy where they asked these immigrants, hey, and they flat out said, this is our position. We give them the choice to get the vaccine. Most refuse. Well, they have the choice whether or not they want to get the vaccine before they're put on planes, trains, and automobiles and shipped all over the country, particularly to swing states. But that's the subject of another rant. And remember, guys, demographic replacement is just a right-wing racist talking point and dog whistle. But they're given the option. They walked across the border fucking illegally with no legitimate grounds for seeking refugee or asylum status. Let's just admit that. They're coming here for a better life. No, dude, they had a fine life. They weren't being persecuted. These Haitians lived in South American countries. They were working. They had stable families. They were happy. They're just looking at a better deal now, which is fine. It's understandable. Here's a little thing, Sparky. We owe them nothing, nor do the Afghans. If you were an interpreter, sure, we owe you something. So the rest of these Afghans fucking got brought over? Are you kidding me? But again, another tangent. We'll deal with that another day. But here's the thing. The whistleblower, even amidst this disaster at the border and the fact that they already are short on manpower, they're being told that if they don't take the vaccine, that they're going to be dismissed. You want to see the end result of this in real time? We're getting to it. We have a nursing shortage in this country. Remember the frontline heroes from last year? Remember them? Yeah, we have a shortage of nurses now. And what are we going to do about that? We're going to fire any nurses who aren't willing to take the jab. First of all, brief sidebar. Right now, the number is up to 70,000 in one city alone, in New York City. 70,000 nurses are going to lose their job because they're refusing to take the jab. If 70,000 healthcare workers in one city are willing to be unemployed rather than take that jab, doesn't that give you at least a moment's pause? Even if you've wholesale drunk the Flavor Aid, and it was Flavor Aid at Jonestown, by the way, even if you've wholesale drunk the Flavor Aid, these are healthcare workers. A lot of doctors, same thing, refusing the jab. Why? Doesn't even give you momentary pause. Not if you're one of the faithful. But again, purging the military. We are purging the Border Patrol. And we are purging the medical field. We touched on this briefly last week. This is something almost Stalin-esque. We are getting rid of people because this is the one way you can find out who's going to be loyal to the regime. Biden's handlers, not Biden, and we covered that last week. And it won't be Kamala in charge either once they 25th Amendment Biden's ass. But the handlers, power players behind the scenes. Are you talking about Obama? Maybe. Talking about Pelosi? Maybe. I'm not going to float if it's pure speculation. We make a case for that another day. But the people who are running the show, what do they want rid of? Anyone who's not going to be loyal to the party. Anyone who's not going to wave that hammer and sickle and do what they're fucking told. And outside of being the perfect boogeyman for the media scare narrative, COVID serves that purpose as well. Oh, you won't take the jab? Well, you're gone. Border Patrol, short on manpower, firing anybody who won't take the jab. Why? Because they'd rather be shorter on manpower and get overrun. Since the final goal of this whole thing is to dispense with the border anyway. What better way to weed out anyone who would oppose that than to get rid of anyone who's not going to be a fucking loyalist? And there you go. Anyone who refuses the jab, you're gone. Military, same way. Because sooner than later, we may face the unpleasant eventuality that anyone who is sane would offer their prayers against, that the military may be turned loose against American citizens. Who do you think is less likely to fire on American citizens? Probably the guys that aren't just going to line up and take your fucking jab. Who do you think is more likely? And more to the point, with regard to the military flexing outside of their pay grade, more or less, did you notice that with the nursing shortage, who are they getting to replace the nurses who refuse to take the jabs in New York City? That's right, the National Guard. Oh, you won't be loyal and take the jab? We will replace you with someone who will. How will we know that they will? Well, because it's the military. And if they didn't take the jab, they get booted as well. You see where this becomes an overall loyalty test. What's really disturbing about that is what they have in store for the civilian population. If you want to look at how the end game of this plays out in real time, we're going to have to drift across the ocean, boys and girls. You're going to have to drift across the Pacific to to a little island nation called Australia. Have you seen what's going on in Australia? People are being shot with rubber bullets for being outside their house after curfew. People are being run down and choked. A woman choke slammed on camera. That single incident, who knows how many the cameras missed. Choke slammed for being outside of her house after curfew had been declared, or outside the boundary of the 1 hour that they're allowed outside. Ponder that for a minute. An ostensibly free nation will give you an hour outside. Unless you take the jab. Unless you won't take the jab, then you're just going to lose all your freedoms. But all of the things that they say are conspiracy theories, and to get to the everyone owes Alex Jones an apology portion of the program. This was just a few months back in January. Australian state considers mining camps for coronavirus quarantine. Now, at the time, and again, I had to fish into my own records for this article that I had bookmarked. That was from January. At the time, when we were saying these are going to be your concentration camps, these are going to be your internment camps, these are going to be your quarantine lockaway places for the people that refuse the vaccine, the retort was, no, these are temporary camps for people flying back into Australia until we can establish that their health is correct. And then fast forward, here we are just 9 months later. And what are they doing? Australia is betting on remote quarantine. Here's what I learned on the inside. This story coming from the New York Times, not exactly a bastion of right-wing radicalism, just last month. But now it's a dedicated facility for COVID quarantine. If you tested positive, if you came up on contact tracing, if you refused to take the vaccine, this camp in Howard Springs has been set up for you. Remember, they called it a conspiracy theory at the time. And here's how they fact check. You're going to love this. This is brilliant. So the statement, a Facebook post claims Australians who are not fully vaccinated for COVID-19 by the end of the year will be put into isolation camps. And of course, the fact checkers said what? What did they say? What did they say? It was false. It was false. 7 News is a number of cities, state-based Instagram accounts, including 7 News Melbourne, blah, 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 blah. It was false. That's what they declared it. And then you dig a little deeper. Why is it false? As of September 17th, these are the true parts. Travelers entering Australia were required to spend 14 days. Quarantine facilities are managed by state and territorial governments. A number of states have plans to build more quarantine facilities. These are all the things that they admit to, which have sometimes been referred to as camps. Not technically camps because they have mobile home trailers. Oh, okay. Victoria has planned to build a quarantine hub dubbed the Center for National Resilience. Are we dystopian enough yet? Summary of the project states the facility is for returning travelers to the state. The facility will open in early 2022. Other states plan to consider building similar facilities, and they go on and on and on. Camps are being built. Camps are being proposed to be built. They will be housing people that refuse the vaccines. All of these things are true. So how did the fact check come back false? Because 7 News Melbourne, 7 News Sydney, and 7 News Queensland, the source of the actual quote, well, in an email to the fact-checking organization, a spokesman for 7 News said that 7 News has never published this, and the account is fake. So all of these things, they go on, after making that statement, they go on to admit all of these things. These are all in fucking place now. But the fact check still says False. So bet if you bring that up in an argument with one of the faithful, they'll hit you with what? Thoroughly debunked. That's been thoroughly debunked. This is why you don't engage. So how does this play out in real time? How are we seeing what the end goal is for the United States? By seeing what's going on right now in Australia in real time. How do we know that they're going to push for this? Do you want to know what they're basing all of this on, by the way? Anybody want to take a wild guess at the population of Australia? Anybody know? No Google cheats, just real quick. Anybody? I'll give you 30 seconds. Population of Australia overall. Take a guess. Somebody want to throw something out? Anybody? Nobody going to take a guess. All right. I'll save you the time. It's just under 26 million. 25 point something million people in Australia. Since the start of the pandemic, since the very beginning of the pandemic, they have had a grand total of 111,421 cases. This is, remember our old source, that old reliable worldometers.info that we started back when it was the COVID cast the first couple of weeks or first month or so? Yeah, I had to pull them out of my ass. Since the start, 111,000 cases, 1,334 deaths in a country of 26 million people. And they're building camps, and they're pushing even further lockdowns and vaccine mandates, and people are choke slamming. Cops are choke slamming women in the street in broad fucking daylight. Over 1,334 deaths in a country of 26 million over the entire course of the fucking pandemic. You want to know how many active cases they've got right now, according to worldometers.info? 27,385 active cases in mild condition, 296 in serious or critical, in a country, once again, of 26 million. And look at the lockdown measures that they're willing to put for that. 300 serious or critical cases in a country of 26 million. They've got the entire country on total goddamn lockdown. They have the police shooting people with rubber bullets, beating the shit out of people in the streets with fucking knives, choke slamming women in broad fucking daylight, all over. Barely over 1,000 deaths over the course of the entire pandemic in a country of 26 million people. But it can't happen here, you say. Yes and no. Do they want it to happen here? I think we can say without a doubt, given the incrementalism that has already taken place with regard to these policies, the ever-shifting goalposts. I saw a post on Twitter earlier this week, and it turns out, wow, check this out. Statistical research indicates that proposing they terminate people from work is causing higher levels of compliance. So that policy is considered, by their metrics, effective. Let me put it to you a different way. Wow, we're really successful because it turns out when you threaten these people's ability to feed their fucking children, they tend to comply. You know what I've found? When you put a gun to a woman's head, she's probably a lot more likely to blow you. I realize that's a pretty big leap there. But how is it any fucking different? You're threatening these people's lives and their livelihoods and their ability to feed their children. And lo and behold, they comply and take the vaccine. And you call that a fucking success. And you think for 2 seconds that what is going on in Australia right now isn't on their fucking radar, that they wouldn't be willing to push that agenda here in the United States. We're getting to see the end result play out in real time right now. But I'm going to bring it home in a way it ties everything together and puts us back on that positive track, because we're not going to do the black pill thing. We know it's coming. We don't have to be unrealistic about it. And we're certainly not going to be fucking Pollyannas. But here's the other side of the Australian equation. Have you looked at how their population has reacted? The most egregious, inexcusable lockdowns in the ostensibly free world. And look what happened when the population hit their breaking point. Mass demonstrations in the streets, running down cops and their barricades, putting hands to these fucking police officers. And look, you know my position on legitimate law enforcement, but if you're enforcing mandates like this against the freedom of the people, you're a pig. You're a fucking pig by any stretch of the definition. And I want you to hurt. The Australians are taking it to them. Those guys found their balls in their spine, and they're taking it to them. Fists flying. The truckers all across Australia. Think about the average trucker's mentality. Hardworking people that have respect for other hardworking people and know that they're essential to making a fucking advanced civilization work. And they're locking it down because the one thing that they believe in is fucking freedom, and they're having theirs taken away. They won't stand for it. So the goods aren't getting to market, and the roads are getting fucking blocked because the truckers found their balls in their spine. So if you want to see how these things play out in real time, we can take a look at Australia and see what our administration is trying to do play out in real time. We can see that right now in Australia. And it should raise your hackles, and it should fucking alarm you. But here's the good part. We can also look and see the end result play out in real time of what happens when good people, working class, good people, people of heart and soul with families, we get to look and see what happens when good people have had enough. And the one factor that they really don't want to think about when we're seeing how this plays out in real time is that the American people still have what the Australian government took away from their subjects a long time ago. So we can see how what they want is playing out in real time, but we can see how it ends playing out in real time. And when we take a look at that end, as always, we got to realize we've got a long road ahead of us, and we're going to have to get dirty. But in the end, knuckle up, motherfuckers. In the end, we win. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. I hope this has brought some kind of solace to you, or at least given you a worthwhile distraction for the last hour. We're about 3 minutes over. I appreciate you guys being here. I really do. For all of you guys who are, by the way, we are doing the replays on BitChute now. If you have not subscribed to my channel over on BitChute, definitely get over there and take a look at that. BitChute is going to be the fallback plan for when YouTube finally pulls the plug. Rumble and some of the others are going to be the fallback plan for when Facebook ultimately pulls the plug. Yes, censorship is a real thing. Yes, the push is on. Yes, the purge is on. They're trying to get rid of us. But the thing is, we haven't given up, and we've got more tools available to us, because you can only ban me once and then I go somewhere else. There's always going to be a forum. But even if it comes down to what I feel like sometimes, that lone voice in the wilderness, that one dude standing up in a soapbox in a public park, bet your ass I'm going to be there. So anyway, I appreciate all you guys showing up. If anything that I've said or done brought some light to you, want to throw me a little bit of coin, I would certainly appreciate it. I'll pass around a little digital collection plate. I'm on PayPal, I'm on Venmo, I'm on Cash App, I'm on Facebook Pay, I'm on all of those things. If you want to throw me a little bit of coin, that would be fantastic. But if you can't, and that's totally cool too. If one thing that you can do for me is put out the word. Hey man, there's this fat old toothless cripple that rants and raves for an hour every Sunday on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or wherever you're checking out the program. I think you are a like mind or a kindred spirit. I think you might get something out of it. Go over and check him out. That would be fantastic. So that's something you can do for me if you want to spread the word. Get a little more reach for the sermons. That would be fantastic. Build the audience. All of my reverends, rangers, all of my prophets of doom, all of my sinner sisters out there, get out there and spread that gospel. The main thing you need to do, not just for me, but for yourselves, is remember the prime directives and live by them. Be the signal in a world full of noise. Be the light in a world full of darkness. And as always, the iron rule, the most important part is be that strength. Boom! In a world full of weakness. Make yourself stronger, smarter, sharper, harder to kill. Build those skill sets, build those networks, build those relationships. Look out for each other, man. And when you get those facts and you know you're holding the truth, speak the truth, man. Let justice be done though the heavens fall. Jim Garrison quoting Shakespeare from the old JFK flick, man. Speak the truth, no matter what it costs. Because at this point in the ball game, boys and girls, we've got nothing to lose by standing. That we aren't definitely going to lose by bending the knee. I bend the knee to no man, nor should you. So fucking stand. Find that heart, find your balls, find your spine, and stand. We ain't out of this. In fact, man, we're going to win this thing, y'all. We're going to win this thing. So far they can push before we push back. And when we push back, we win. I love you guys. Appreciate y'all being here. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. We'll see you next Sunday. I'm out. Thanks, guys. Love you all. Peace.